Welcome to Simply Sarah. I'm Sarah Stockham, your host, and I am delighted that you are here. Whether you are listening at the time works for you or you are watching live, just know that we are so appreciative of the fact that you are here taking in this information, this conversation, and allowing it to potentially shift how you look at yourself and the concept of resilience. We want to say thank you to our sponsors, to Lamano Art, and also to the Stegner family for their incredible support. And in this space, we're going to say welcome to another E360 TV host, to Laura Cross. It is so lovely to have you here today. Laura, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. We first met through Julie Ann McCurris Meyer. And in that space, we were both invited to be on the Los Angeles Tribune Legacy Summit, and so enjoyed hearing you speak so eloquently to spaces of leadership, to your own resilience. And I would just love for you to share with our audience a little bit of your story of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Kind of, I guess, in a nutshell, or the short version of it is, I was once a military veteran, blue collar worker turned entrepreneur. But what started me off on the journey into Mindful Mondays and everything else was when I lost my husband 20 years ago. He was 36. We were laughing at lunch, and he was dead by 10. And it was such a rude awakening, because I was only 37 and I didn't expect that to ever be my situation. But it taught me that life was way too short to be answering to anybody else. And yeah, it just kind of started a whole journey of between resilience, discovering who I truly was, where my path was meant to be. I mean, it really started everything.
Mm. What was for you in that moment of seeing this incredible, huge shift in your life, this tragedy? We expect people to live much further than 36, right?
Right.
And in that space, what were some of the things that helped you move through the deep loss, the incredible grief, the realizing that the sun was going to come up again in the morning, and how were you going to move forward? What were some of the things, the tools that you used initially to help you in that process?
I didn't really, I guess you could look at them as tools. I didn't really know that they were tools at the time. I know I had great support from my family. And for me, my late husband and I, we had 3 dogs. Those were our kids. I am a fur mom. And I had lost my Samoyed like 2 days after my birthday. So December 7th. And then 2 weeks later, I lost my husband. And then the following year, a couple months later, I had lost my quiche hound. So, but after I lost my husband, it's like, those are my kids. And for me, no one else could take care of them like the way I could. So even though I might have had that thought here and there where didn't care what happened to me, I did care because I knew I had my fur kids to finish taking care of them. So that was, a big support between that and my family to start off with, and to start helping me, to keep going, and to care.
Having beautiful fur babies dependent on you is such an incredible support, because they are there so often. They sense our feelings, our emotions before we're necessarily in touch with them. I don't know how they do it, but they just have this incredible ability. And then that space of knowing that that care is a constant that's needed, and that they will come and put their wet noses on you in the morning to say, hey, it's time for us to get outside and see the morning. Please open up the door, which requires getting up and doing, right?
It does. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had animals for so many decades of our lives. And that's one of the things I so appreciate about them, is that space of the interconnectedness, right, of the relationship is just so beautiful. So
Yeah.
your family also, huge support coming in and encouraging and being there. you are now an entrepreneur. You have your own television show. You have relocated in the last little bit. What were some of the things that helped you move from military life, because you were a dependent also, right? You had grown up as a military in the military with, and so what were some of the things then that really helped you with your mindset shift to move from a space of going to a 9 to 5 job, or uh, going for 4 years of deployment, or whatever it happened to be that way, into a space of this really free flowing life that we call entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that took a little bit too. Because military, we're always kind of taught, 15 minutes early is on time. And so, when you're working a regular job, yeah, you're normally always the person that is always there that shows up, or you're always there early, no matter what, because that's just kind of what was ingrained in us. And so when it's got into the entrepreneurship and when you start doing meetings and Zooms, at first I used to get really frustrated, or wondering, is the person going to show or is the person not, because some
Yeah.
people pack their meetings in back to back to back, and they're either just barely on time or a minute or two late, and I'm like, I had to let that go. For one, I had to
Right.
let that go. I'm like, that is it. Life's too short to be getting that uptight over something. And it's like, stuff happens. They're either going to show up or not. I just I had to create a window. I used to wait 10, 15 minutes. Now it's like, you know what? I'm getting busier and busier. I give
Mhm.
them 5 minutes. If they don't show, I'll shut down the meeting and say, hey, I hope everything's okay. Just if you want to still meet, please reschedule.
Yeah.
And you just gotta kind and roll with it. And when you do that, it's a lot less stressful.
Oh, I so appreciate that. And that truly is a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Move from a place of what it um, so ingrained in us. For me as a teacher of 35 plus years, when the bell rang, things were supposed to be happening. They were educational. And I've been not in that space for almost 2 years. And this truly is, I was just out gardening yesterday and just thinking, I haven't been concerned about the fact that I don't hear a bell ringing, and that I'm supposed to be someplace and doing educational things at the point that the bell rings. So it really does take a bit of time and self conversations. And then I think also this desire, this willingness to be open to allow things to change, knowing that we have a goal ahead of us, but also being willing to allow those things to unfold as well.
Yeah, you have to really kind of learn to let go of a lot of things. So I think it's between military and work. And when you're working for someone, you're used to being scheduled, or even when you go into entrepreneur and you find mentors and stuff that you follow, it's kind of like the military. You're still following, you're still following. So there was another set shift to take what I learned, but learn how to be myself still, because you
Mhm.
can still really lose yourself when you get busy following others. And their path is not mine. So it's great information, but you got to figure out how to make it your own and be comfortable with it.
Mm. I really appreciate that. So speaking of time, and then also seeing that you have, 7 days a week, are you in a place now that you have figured out a schedule that works well for you?
I had a really good schedule. I still have a good schedule, so I still take care of myself. But I've launched into kind of like this whole new thing of helping people with doing voice scans. So my schedule has gotten a little bit busier, but I still make sure I have my self care time in the morning, because I always make sure it's an exception and not the rule. But when you're working with people that are overseas, my self care time used to be from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and I didn't start meetings until then. Well, now I start at 8.
Yes.
No, I started 8 because I work with a lot of people in Germany and Italy, and that's 3 in the afternoon for them.
Mhm.
But I always try to shut down. Once in a while, I will do something after dinner time, but normally by dinner time, when my fiance comes home, so that I can make dinner and enjoy the evening with them, I'm done. And when I'm done, I walk away. And if I didn't do everything, you know what? That's okay. I make sure whatever's really important gets done first the next day, and then the rest let go. And I've learned to just be proud and appreciate what I did get done and what I did accomplish, instead of beating myself up about I didn't get this, didn't get that, because that's just more stress that nobody needs.
Focusing on the gain, what you got done, rather than the gap of what still needs to be done. And as an entrepreneur, I do think that there's always more that needs to be done. And sometimes that's daydreaming and thinking ahead and thinking bigger, right?
Right.
There's always more that can be looked at, that can be considered, that can be integrated. And so I think it's just so incredible that you make that hard stop, that after dinner that things just are going to lay where they are, and that you are willing to see that tomorrow is a new day, and that you're willing to come back into that space and say, okay, let's look at today's list of things. I know for myself, I write out my week. Yes, I have it on the calendar on my phone, but on Sunday afternoons for decades now, I take the time to sit down and write out my afternoons, or to write out my week. And when I do that, then if there's something that I haven't finished, I'm able to circle that. And that just catches my eye as I look at the rest of the week. And it also helps me to kind of gauge my energy as I'm looking at the week. And I know that this week I had huge changes happen late Sunday afternoon. And I thought, wow, that's going to really impact my week. I need to look at my schedule again and kind of think through with this new framework of how the week is going to show up and see how that's going to work. And again, just having it written down, there's something that happens pen to paper, right?
Right.
In our brain, but then seeing it also just really helped me to be able to move through the different things that were going to be big changes for this week, and still be where I want to be, where I need to be at the times that I said that I would be there. So I appreciate what you were saying about looking at your calendar the next day, waking up and saying, what do I have that needs to be reorganized and figured out? You talked about doing voice scans. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, well, one of the guests that I had on my show, Dr. George Grant, he does, we did a thing about anti-aging and stuff, and he introduced me to this AO voice scan, because everything, we're vibration and energy. Everything around us is vibration and energy. I tell people may not necessarily understand or know, but color, I mean, even if it's not moving, it has vibration energy. There's a reason spas are painted a certain color, restaurants are painted a certain color. But this technology uses Tesla's, Nikola Tesla's, Tesla coil
Yes.
and the Rife energies. And it's amazing because it used to be a device, but now it's just technology that you can have in your computer. But every time we speak, there are literally thousands of vibrations and frequencies coming out, and just capturing 10 seconds of their voice when they say, I am Laura Cross, and, you just keep talking. They only have to talk for 10 seconds, and it brings in the 3 highest frequencies and the 1 lowest, and then it tries to optimize and bring you back into balance. And it helps us to help other people identify the root cause of what is causing their distress, their ease. I mean, from food sensitivities to the way colors affect emotions that are stuck, that are causing them. If they're pre-diabetic, it basically lights up everything just from that snapshot. And so we can help people to identify and figure out what is stuck and where we can help them.
I think about all the different kinds of voices that are out there in the different languages. I am intrigued that this exists, that is out there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick up this conversation.
Okay.
Hey Pamela, would you like to share anything about today's Art of Forgiving class?
Sure. So, I have now taken the Art of Forgiving class a few times, trial runs, actual runs, just so many times, and I love it every time. But so far, I've only ever drawn someone that I felt like I needed to forgive. And then today, for some reason, I really got stuck on the words like an event or someone. So I decided to go with an event. I actually broke my toe this weekend. It's been a hard weekend, even though it sounds so minor. It's really had a big influence on me. So I decided to draw just from memory the event of me breaking my toe and kind of how it happened. So here's my drawing. You can kind of see it's not fully complete yet. I still want to add some more color. But I think it was really important for me to draw this because I tend to have a harder time of forgiving myself for something that I did wrong that then hinders my life than if someone else went wrong me. Like if someone had stepped on my toe and it broke, I would have gotten over that faster than like the past few days I've just been dwelling on like what could I have done differently. How could I not be in the situation that I am today, and like why me? And I feel like it really helped take those questions out of my mind and just paint it as a really beautiful scene and help me recognize that it was something that was meant to happen.
I so appreciate the art of forgiving that Lamano Art is doing, and she's going to be offering classes soon. They're going to be virtual. I'm super excited about that. Laura, you are sharing about AO voice. I would love for you to tell us what AO is, but then to tell us a little bit more about this idea that people speaking different languages, people speaking have higher voices, have lower voices, that you are, through this technology, the Nikola Tesla technology, able to find the highest three vibrations and also find the one lower one. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah. So the scan's amazing because, like I said, I work with people in Germany, Netherlands, and one of the gentlemen I work with speaks 5 different languages, but they can speak in their own language. It really doesn't matter. And actually, I can even scan pets, and you don't even need their voice. It knows when you put in their weight, their name, their birth date. It knows that that's what it's targeting. It gets more like into quantum. It's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around,
Sure.
but when they get to see it and feel it, and so people that are very sensitive or in tune or intuitive and can feel the energies in their body, some people will say, oh wow, I feel that in my head, or I feel that in my gut. Other people don't feel anything at all, and they can be all the way in Italy or Germany. They can actually feel that vibration and frequency, and that's what it does to try and balance them and help them. And it's 98% accurate. It's literally a snapshot in time of what is going on in your body, because your blood is constantly racing through your body, so it's constantly changing. So you can do something and then you can do a scan a little bit later and it could be different. But I've had people that come on there, and like one of the first high frequencies, it's emotion between maybe anger and or unconditional love and self-love, and they're somewhere in that pendulum, and it'll show the emotions that are causing it, possibly grief, nervous exhaustion. And nervous exhaustion is people basically that aren't going to bed by 10, they're up half the night, they're not sleeping well. It just highlights a number of things, and people are like, yeah, okay, that's spot on. So it's really incredible to watch people's kind of reactions to it. But yeah, it's all based on frequencies, and so it actually creates audio files that will counteract. So when you have those 3 high frequencies, it'll give you 3 audio files that will counteract that and bring those down into balance, and another higher one to bring the lower one up. So there's 4 audio files it'll kick out for you. They're 3 minutes long. And I tell people the tunes might be the same, but the frequencies in them are different.
Right.
And the cool thing is if the frequencies or the tune aren't your thing or it kind of bothers you, turn it down. You don't even have to hear it. Just play it, and it still works on you.
Mm.
It helps change things. So yeah, it's an incredible, incredible tool.
And what kind of changes have you observed with people that you have had the opportunity to work with?
Well, there's a number of them. Most of the times we're able to help people fix their leaky gut, get more sleep. Dr. Grant's been working with people for a while. As a matter of fact, one of his incredible stories that he shared with me was a gentleman that was basically in hospice. They were told for him to get his affairs in order. He had been on 28 medications. He had two bypasses, 2 stents put in, and he was still 90% blocked. How Dr. Grant was introduced to him, I'm not sure, but he went and talked to him, asked him what he was eating. The guy's like, well, he has eggs and bacon for breakfast every day, and like 6 strips of bacon, and he's drinking diet soda. And Dr. Grant's like, no pork. The bacon needs to go. You need to get, and he didn't like that. And he says, you need to drink 3 liters of water, and you need to do this to cleanse this. And the guy, he says, well, I don't want to, do that. I don't want to drink your stupid water. And he goes, well, then get your affairs in order. And so long story short, I mean, this was like in the end of 98. And in 1999, that gentleman that was supposed to only have 3 months was now on no medications, didn't have to have any more surgeries. They were 50%, and he is 103 today. So he,
Wow.
you know, it was just living proof that with integrative functional and lifestyle medicine, and when you identify the root cause, we have that power
Mm.
to be able to change our life. We're not subject to it just because it's in our genes. You can actually, change things just by doing different things, different lifestyles, and not following the same bad habits.
Yeah. That is so well said, Laura. So tell me a little bit about White Sands Self Care. We're going to run the ticker across the bottom for people to be able to find you easily, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I created White Sands Self Care during the COVID time. After I had lost my husband, I created White Sands Premier Travel. I am still a certified travel agent. But when COVID hit, it scared the snot out of everybody for traveling. And I realized the reason I want people to travel is to take better care of themselves.
Yes.
And when I met so many people and learned all of the holistic ways that we could heal ourselves
Mm.
and the different modalities that were out there, to me, it just made sense. And I'm like, okay, this is a message that needs to get out.
Mhm.
So I started by creating White Sands Self-Care Community. It's a community just like the show Mindful Mondays. Mindful Mondays is kind of an extension of it, but everything I do is about being that resource that provides education, the connection, and the collaboration to support others on their wellness journey. And I got started with that because I think when somebody can tell their story and their challenges, how they got over those challenges, and how they help others to do the same, that people can resonate with you better.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why I started it. So I like building judgment-free, holistic communities. And I've had people ask me, what is judgment-free? I said, judgment-free is there is no judgment. There's no right or wrong. We're all individuals. We are entitled to feel and think however we want.
Mm.
And I just hold that respectful space. I may not always agree with it. Maybe somebody else doesn't, and that's okay. They don't have to. It's what worked for them, and it's going to work for somebody else.
Yes. I really appreciate you speaking so clearly about this space of community and how important it is to have these spaces. If somebody was interested who's listening right now and getting in touch with you, is going to whitesandsselfcare.com the best way to get a hold of you to learn more about you as well?
They can definitely learn more about me on my website. If you look on any of the social medias like LinkedIn or Facebook or even Instagram, if you're putting in Laura Cross White Sands, you will find me. I invite everybody to join my White Sands Self-Care Community group. It is an open group. I don't put up with any, nasty things. That's not what it's there for. But if you have TV shows, you've got master classes, it's meant to be a resource. So I encourage people to join it, let people know what they do and what they have going on, and keep building, because you don't know what's out there until you meet with, until you know. So
Yes. What advice, Laura, would you give to somebody who is considering moving from a 9 to 5 job, working for someone else, and coming into a place of entrepreneurship? What would you encourage them? What's your advice for them?
the best thing I think I can tell you is take some time on your own, block everybody else out, and look deep inside you and what lights you up. If you're talking about something you do and you don't light up when you talk about it, then it's just another job. It's just another means to the end. It doesn't matter whether the people around you understand it or agree with it. It has to feel right with you. And when you can figure out who you are and what lights you up, then there's a way you can make a business out of it. I will guarantee you can make a business out of it. Other people may not understand it, but yeah, it has to come from within. It has to be who you truly are, not who everybody thinks you're supposed to be.
That is so well said. The Time Magazine Woman of the Year is Australian, Nicole Kidman. And what I so appreciate about her story, about who she is that she talks about what you're saying about be authentically who you are. And I've recently heard someone else talk about allow your mess in your life to become your message. So between Nicole Kidman's vulnerability, both when she's acting and when she's having conversations with people being interviewed, that space of vulnerability, and then this space of coming in and looking at perhaps things that we aren't so excited about sharing with other people. There's places in our life that we have felt like were maybe messy, or other people have maybe said to us that, get your act together, whatever that happens to mean. But allowing those places to be areas where we are willing to be vulnerable, willing to share, and where we see that we have made growth. And I love how you said earlier about getting a mentor, and finding somebody who is ahead of you in that journey. They don't need to be at the nth degree of it. If
Right.
they can just be a couple steps ahead. And you are probably going to have lots of different mentors through the process of entrepreneurship, because as you grow, you may outgrow some of the people that you have been taking information in from or watching so closely. And that's an okay thing as well, that when you are ready for the next teacher, that you will know that that next mentor will, sometimes it takes time to find that next person, but they truly are out there.
Yeah. I will tell you, I felt like I truly came more into my own when I embraced being perfectly imperfect. I used to always be called a perfectionist. I told people, you can call it a perfectionist. I called it pride. But I realized that that was just causing way too much unnecessary stress. And I'm like, so I believe in being transparent and perfectly imperfect. If I make mistakes, that's okay. I'm not going to try and cut it out, re-record over it, whatever.
Yeah.
People can just grow right along with me and right along with my audience. So
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's so, so well said. Um, in this space of talking about being healthy and choosing wellness, and the fact that we have the ability to be able to make changes in our life, what are some of the things that you have found to be helpful for people to immediately start feeling better? What are some of the things that you've noticed?
well, I can tell you, like, especially for like me and my fiance, he's a type 2 diabetic, and I have got him down to where he's only on one medication now. We have his blood sugars between 80 and 110. He
Wonderful.
gets on the tread climber at night. I'm on in the morning. We have the right supplements that are going, ones that are 95 to 98% absorbency, so we know they're the right ones. And of course, we help with the guidance of Dr. Grant because he does have the medical background for that. But yeah, I mean, you can make little changes. You can take those short breaks, those times out to reset yourself. Do some kind of exercise. The breathing that you and I were doing like a little bit before, that's one thing we tell everybody when we're talking to them in the voice scans, because 95% of us just breathe in our chest when you
Right.
really should be breathing in your belly and expanding it so that you can have oxygen going from head to toe, because it causes a lot of problems. It causes the snoring, the sleep apnea, the dementia and stuff, because your brain is really not getting enough oxygen when you're doing all the shallow breathing. Um, so yeah, I've learned a lot, and sometimes people are a little resistant. My fiance could be a little resistant, but then he started looking into things, and then the more he started doing stuff himself, and the more he started seeing the better changes, because he doesn't want to be on the medications. He doesn't want to keep having to go to doctor's visits. So when you start to be able to start seeing some changes and noticing some difference, your joints aren't as stiff, you can move more, you have more energy. It's just kind of the drive that helps you, keep you going.
I love that space of curiosity. I wonder if I were to drink more water, or if I were to add in more vegetables that I enjoy, or perhaps more fruit in the whole fruit stage rather than drinking the fruit juice. I wonder if that would be something that would make a difference. Starting that place of curiosity. And then also, I love how you talked about your fiance having a goal of not taking all these medications the rest of his life necessarily. If he needs them, so be it. But then also wanting so much to be able to have fewer doctor visits. So having those goals and being curious. And we have this innate sense of, I think, of being able to put one foot in front of the other. We're able to move forward. And in my life, sometimes that's looked much more metaphorically like I was crawling forward, or for me, crawling backwards, because as I my sisters tease me that it was faster for me for whatever reason to crawl backwards, looking backwards, than it was for me to crawl forward. So whatever that was about, but that space of movement, right?
Right.
Of not staying stuck in one place, but being able to move, and that we are able to do that, and having these goals or these desires in our heart. And you talked about being quiet so that we can hear those, to really understand what that is about where we are. Have you noticed in your becoming an entrepreneur, relocating, that there have been a shift in the people that uh, you spend time with, or that you invest time with?
Absolutely. The more like I said, the more I've been authentically myself, I have attracted more heartfelt people that are like me, that love what I do. I love what they do. We make great collaborations, and they're across the globe. It's amazing when you have that support. I have people that are big supporters of mine, and I know I don't have to be embarrassed if I need to ask a question or struggling with this. All I've got to do is ask them, and they're happy to be there for me. And same vice versa, and I can try and be there for them. It's a great support. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be in your backyard, but
Right.
when it's not raining, we're raining right now, but when it's not raining, that's what I do. I love to go outside and just watch my birds and the tree leaves and just
Yes.
regroup. I need those few minutes to just take deep breaths and just regroup. And yeah, I find myself needing, I especially now that we're coming into spring, it's like, yep, I'm going to want to be outside more.
Yes. Yes. And like you, I chose time this morning to be outside. And for me, I decided, rather than walking and going to see what was taking place in the neighborhood, that I chose to do some watering. Yes, we're going to have rain potentially tomorrow, but it just seemed like things were just a little bit dry. And I thought, I'm just going to enjoy this space and take in what it feels like to be here, and watch the birds, and filled up the water for the birds in the bird bath. And just, it felt good to knowing that I was taking care of the animals around, but also just being outside and allowing the morning sun rays to be touching my face. It just felt so good.
Yeah, same here. I always take time to play with Bug, my service dog that I have now, and in the morning. And I don't care how freezing cold or snow. When we did get the 8 inches of snow, I just put my boots on, but I still feed my birds and my squirrels
Yes,
and the
yes,
deer. I got to have my spot for the corn for the deer because all my critters
yes,
come in. That's my happy place. So
yes,
freezing or not, it makes me
yes.
happy to go feed them.
I so understand what you were saying. So tell me a little bit how you got into travel. And I know that you love dolphins and being in the water. So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned into that space, and expand it for others.
Yeah, so I do, and that's actually something I'm kind of new I'm working on because one of my other guests that I have worked on, she's an energy healer with water and the energy with water. And I have another lady that has connected me to someone that does retreats with dolphins and whales. I have always been attracted to water since I was a kid, and dolphins. Didn't know why, just always was. I mean, I could have my lips turning purple and I'd be like, nope, not cold. I didn't want to get out of the water. I'd be staying in that water. So I love being in the water, swimming. And I've always loved dolphins, watched Flipper. That's why Miami Dolphins are my team, just because they have a dolphin. That is my whole reason for that. But they're such gentle and intelligent and super soft. Now that I finally got to do a deep water swim with them in Atlantis in 2017, I would do that experience again and again. They're such amazing animals. I just, for whatever reason, I just feel connected to them, and I'm still figuring that part out. But travel, I mean, I traveled when I was in the military, but it's not the same. I mean, I spent first grade in Germany, second grade on up in Colorado.
Mhm.
I went in the military, so the first place they sent me was Iceland. I spent a year in Iceland, to Arizona, to North Dakota, back to Colorado. But when you can travel on your own and see and experience different cultures, different things. There's such amazing things in this world. And it's nice because you totally get away from everything. You don't
Yes.
have the things going in your head of, oh, I got to do laundry. I have to do the dishes. All of that just like goes away. You can actually kind of get pampered yourself depending on where you're staying or how you decide to travel. it's always different, and there's health benefits to it too. I mean,
Mhm.
you're healthier, you build your immune system because you're subjected to different things. It's been proven that people have less heart disease if they take at least a 7-day vacation or longer. There's a lot of health data that is connected to travel. And for one, you get away and you get to escape everything that you do. And it can really clear your mind. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working in a job, it can actually help you to be more creative. Maybe it helps you launch your business in a whole different area. Or if you're working for someone, maybe it helps you get that promotion you always wanted, because now you're not burnt out and frustrated. You have some new ideas. You bring a whole fresh new look back. Um, yeah, it's just relaxing, rejuvenating, and there, like I said, there's a ton of beautiful things out there that I told people. I said, I don't do bucket lists. I have a live list. And the more training I do about different places, the longer my live list gets. So
Yes.
I love the training because I love to learn about what I can go experience there,
Mm.
instead of going somewhere and then leaving, then find it on TV and saying, really, that was there. I was there, but didn't know it was there. So yeah, I like using the training for that.
Oh, I love the idea also of preparing, right? Being curious before you go
Mhm.
about what could possibly be there, and then maybe setting up a little bit of an itinerary, but not jamming it full so that there is space to be able to breathe, to sleep in, to go for an expected cup of coffee or tea someplace, and just to allow the unexpected to also happen. What are some of the places that you have traveled to that you have had experiences where you've said, oh, I really think that if other people go here, they might also have a similar experience, a healing experience?
I love the Caribbean. I will tell you that much.
Mm.
I absolutely love the Caribbean, the Bahamas. Aruba was nice when we went down to Aruba and Curacao, all the bright pastel colors, but the water there is so clear and different shades of turquoise and blue, which, if you haven't noticed, blue's kind of my color anyway, kind of like yours.
Love that.
But
Yes.
you know, I don't worry about it so much. Now, yes, I know they got sharks or whatever, and I do watch Shark Week. I just don't watch before I go on a cruise. But I go out into the water, and they can be hundreds of feet deep, but you can see all the way through to the bottom. It's
Wow.
not like the water you have around here, and it's just amazing, the different colors and stuff, and it's just peaceful. It's got such beautiful, some of the plants and stuff that you've never seen around here, the flowers. Most of the resorts and stuff are very well kept, but then there's lots of things you can learn from the people and the culture, handmade stuff. I mean, it's just incredible to see what else is out there, the different kinds of festivals and what they celebrate, because it's different from what we do.
In the news over the last several years, there have been some things that have happened where people have used their uh, hotel room bar, they've drunk some things and have had some not good experiences after that. What is some of the tools and tips that you tell people if you're going to travel to a place that has uh, a different set of, I don't know, standards, or is how would you address that? How do you address that with people?
For one, I would suggest to learn a little bit more about it before you go.
Mm.
Um, don't go in, just because you're American or whatever, and well, this is the way we do it. You're not in your country anymore. You're in theirs. And I think that's something that I learned with the military. We were always taught to try to blend in and adapt, learn. Don't expect them to bend to your every whim. I mean, that's not what it's there for. They're very pleasant and very nice people. We went to Mazatlan at a time where my mom got really worried because it's all over in the news about militias. I'm like, I'm on a resort, okay? And they aren't normally on the resorts, but we still took one of those palomas that they call. It's like a glorified golf cart. And this guy he took us on a 2-hour tour or whatever, took us to the market, was telling us all about the history of Mexico,
Mm.
and the different things in the city. And he stopped and he waited for us, and we came out, and he did it for like $20. It was like $20 American. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, tours and stuff normally cost you more than that. So, what's cheap for us means a lot to them in
Mm.
that area. In the Bahamas, I had a gentleman. Now that blew me away when we went to the Bahamas. We had a gentleman, it's kind of like an Uber thing. He drove us around. He took us to the chocolate factory to go see how they make chocolate. He took us to the tea shop. He dropped us off for lunch and then gave us his number and told us to just call him when we were ready. And it was a toll-free number to call. He never asked for money until he picked us up after lunch, and we came back, and we already knew it was only going to be like $20-$30, but still, I mean, you don't find that in the States. People drive you somewhere, they want to get paid then and there because otherwise they probably aren't going to see it. But they're not that way in the Bahamas. They're like they're very trusting. They're used to, people being their word. And he trusted us to call him and have him come back. And then he took us back to the port and, and we paid him. So it's just very different, but you can learn about their cultures and what they do. Things that are offensive, I would suggest, avoiding that,
Definitely.
When you try to speak their language or try to, be more open. Yeah, they're definitely very more open, very welcoming. And most of these countries, the tourism is what helps their
Yes.
economy. That's what their whole economy is based on. So they're going to bend over backwards for you anyway.
Yes.
But yeah.
I really appreciate that advice of learn before you go and go with an open mind and be willing to blend in. What a great idea.
Yeah. And be aware of things, but you don't have to believe everything that's in the media because they focus on all the negative stuff. And I always tell people, I'm like, do you think we look that pleasant to people to come visit? We got our own stuff going on, but people still come here. We still go other places.
Right.
You should know, but don't necessarily have to be overly paranoid about it. But yeah, again, with the resorts and stuff, those are normally always very well protected. And if you want to just go and stay on the resort area, you can do that or take their guided tours. There are some places that, yes, I would not suggest you go venture off on your own, especially if you don't know the language very well and you don't know the roads, but they have plenty of affordable guided tours that you could go enjoy yourself and come back and still experience what you need to.
So are you somebody who really encourages people to do cruises as well? Are you thinking more of flying places and being at the resort and having experiences and excursions?
I do both, but if you really want to see a lot of places and you want to get the best bang for your buck, a cruise is the way to go.
Oh,
Because you're only unpacking one time. You're not having to pack up. You're not having to go and fly to another place. You're not having to resettle in another room. These are literally floating cities. I mean, it's incredible what is on there. Some of them have bowling alleys now, racetracks, golf courses. Um, the shows are incredible. They have different levels of shows depending on what cruise line and stuff you go on. They're all different. My next one I want to go on is Virgin Voyages because it's Richard Branson's and it's 18
yes.
years or older. So
Yes.
there's no kids. But I always tell people if Lick Me Till I Scream offends you for the name of an ice cream parlor, you may not want to go on Virgin Voyages. But
Good point. Yes.
but he's very conscious about the environment. They don't waste food and plastics and stuff. So they have like a buffet without you order like buffet style. Everything is made fresh. It's not all sitting out that you're going to pick from and whatever doesn't get eaten gets thrown away. He's very conscious about the environment. And
Yes.
his excursions are a little bit different where they're a little more private. You don't feel like you're in like this whole big cattle herd being prodded to go here and there. So they're a little more exclusive. And other things, but each ship has their own different things. But you can see a number of ports. All of your meals and stuff are included, normally except for specialty restaurants. Virgin, they're all included. So it doesn't matter if they're specialty or not, they're all included in the price. So it's kind of already taken care of. You don't even have to carry cash and stuff around with you. A lot of them have gone to the apps on the phone. So you can actually just order from your app on the phone and bring it to you. I think COVID probably partially launched that, but a lot of them have medallions where they can do things and you don't have to go stand in a line. And so, yeah, they've come a long way, but it's still, you've got everything. You've got shows, you've got entertainment. You can play bingo. It's got the pools. It's got a serenity area. So if you want an adult quiet area where there's adults only, they have that. They have spas. They have gyms. They're literally floating cities.
Wow. If somebody was going to go on a cruise for the first time and they are here in the States, where would you encourage them to? What's a good first cruise experience?
The first cruise experience that I had was a 3-day one from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas. Now, I will say 3 days was way entirely too short because we got on the cruise ship late because apparently when they came in, it was on MSC. Someone had chartered the entire ship before we had it, and when they pulled into port, someone decided to jump overboard into the water, and of course they had to investigate.
Sure.
We didn't get on until like 3:30, which is like crash. By now we're hungry, but then you're coming into dinner. So we ate dinner, we saw a show, we woke up coming into the Bahamas with a beautiful sunrise coming up. And from Nassau, you could either go to Atlantis or you go to Nassau. The bridge connects the two, Paradise Island and there. But you spend the day there. And since I was a sandals expert at the time, we hung out at the Sandals Resort for the day, and then you got back on, you ate dinner, you saw a show, you went to sleep, and then you woke back up in Miami. So entirely too short because I did not have enough time to see everything on the ship. I always suggest going at least 4 or 5 days for your first one. And I will tell you, if you are worried about being seasick, book a room in the middle of the ship. There's less motion to it. If you're claustrophobic, I tell people I always go with a balcony because I didn't go in a glorified cabin, glorified closet. But if you are, don't want to see the water, or be out in your balcony and watch the water, you might want an indoor cabin. There's no windows to them. But if people don't want to see that, I always recommend a balcony because you can have your own quiet space and just sit out in the balcony and watch the waves go by, while they might be still partying at the pool or whatever, but you can have your peace and quiet and still enjoy. So there's different things and there's different stuff you can do. I would take your own Dramamine kind of stuff with you. Take that with you in your luggage, because if you go to the doctors, they have doctors on board. But if you wind up getting sick from it, for one, it's going to be more expensive to pay for the doctors there. And if they're worried about you being sick, you could wind up getting quarantined in your quarters for the rest of the thing, just so that they protect the rest of the rest of the ship if they're not totally sure. But
that makes sense. Yeah. Is there a season where it is more economical to go on cruises?
It depends on where you're going. Depends on where you're going. There's all kinds of different specials and stuff that they run, promotions. You'll see a lot of them times during our holiday times where they'll have special seasons ones. They have rock cruises for like rock bands that are on them. They'll have different themed cruises. They actually have world cruises where you can be on a cruise ship for 120 plus days and see a lot of things. I have a business partner that has been on a 3-month, I think it was a 3-month cruise. So yeah, you can really see a lot because they can do laundry and stuff for you. So you're not packing 3 months. You're still not logging half your house with you, but but yeah, it depends on where you go and what specials they have. Yes, you can possibly get cheaper things when it gets closer, but you won't have the pick of your cabins because they always want to try and fill the ship. So if they haven't filled it all for some reason, you can possibly get it. But I always recommend people, normally you want to book those cruises at least 6 months to a year ahead of time.
Oh,
I had one client that she came in as like, I said, you realize that's in like 2 months, right? And she had to get her passport updated because she just got married. And I'm like, oh, you're really pushing it because you're going to have to pay to express that passport for one.
right.
That has to be in there. But and they actually had some cabins on MSC, and so she did a 4-day cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, Canaveral area, down to Nassau, and came back, and they had a really nice time.
Good.
So, but I will tell you, during, August to December, you might not necessarily want to take a cruise in the Caribbean. That is hurricane season, and it can detour your cruise.
So in addition to possibly detouring the cruise, do they ever cancel cruises?
They do.
Okay.
They do. Normally, and so whether it's a cruise, any vacation, I will tell you from experience, buy your insurance. Unless you just have thousands of dollars to throw away, get the insurance. We were set for my parents' 40th anniversary cruise which was going to be in Valentine's Day in 2005. We had paid for the excursions, the flights, the hotel rooms, the ship, everything. At that time, back in 2004, the insurance was only $145 per person. My husband died December 21st of 2004.
Yeah.
We were not expecting that. And then we were going to have my grandma take his place. Well, the following month, she had to have 2 stents put in her heart. And so she had to have heart surgery. And we're like, okay, this is just the universe telling us this is not the time for us to go. And we had my husband's death certificate. So we all had to cancel, and we got every bit of our money back, the flights, the excursions, the cruise, everything except for the $145 each it cost us for the insurance.
Yeah.
So, and read your insurances carefully. Everybody has different ones. They have a lot of cancel for any reason, but just because it might have the same name doesn't mean from one cruise ship to another or from one travel company to another, they are the exact same. So read through them and make sure you know what is being covered and ask the questions. But either way, the coverage is so much better than chancing it, because there's been people that maybe missed a flight, and then you miss, if you're on a cruise and they've already pulled up the plank, they're not going to wait on you because your flight's been
Right. Delayed.
But if you have the insurance, they will fly you to get you to the next port so you could join up with your ship. So there's different things that can be done.
My sister loves to go on cruises, and she was sharing that in her experience that it's important to have the cruise line, to book the flights through the cruise line. They got stuck in the Mediterranean, and the ship had some issues. They were extended on in the sea and missed their flights. And because they had booked it through their flights through the travel agency that with the cruise, they were responsible then. The cruise line was responsible to rebook them and get them home. And so that's been just something that I thought was, again, just an interesting thing about being able to travel and learning all the ins and outs.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to. I've normally booked the flights separately, but you can book them through with the cruise too. But again, there's insurance that can cover those things, and they kind of all work together.
Good. I appreciate learning that. Thank you so much. We have just a few minutes left. Are there things that you would like to reiterate for our audience about the space of resilience, the space of choosing your live list for traveling? Would just love to hear your thoughts.
The biggest thing I would like to leave people with is to take that time to figure out who you are, what makes you happy, and what lights you up. Stop worrying about what everybody else thinks you should be doing, or this will never work. They're all just their opinions. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And if it's something that lights you up, follow your path, and live a happier and healthier life. Because I could go get a job and I could go work for people and maybe make more money than what I'm making now, but I wouldn't be happy. And life's about enjoying it and being who you are and true to yourself. And when you know that, you're going to attract other people. I always tell people to create those boundaries. You might want to keep them somewhat close, but if they're going to be negative all the time, create that space, because you don't need that in your space. And the more you become yourself, the more you're going to attract those people that are going to be there to support you.
Laura, you talked about it being other people's opinions, and I think that's such an incredible thing for us to just finish on. Other people are going to share their opinions, and sometimes we ask for them. Many, many times we don't. It's a cultural thing, I think, right? Where people will just share what they are thinking. And I think for us who are internal processors, to recognize that when people give their opinion, it's really good for us to internally say that's their opinion. Just like those are their shoes. That's their way that they like to walk. That's their favorite bracelet, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But to recognize that just because a person has an opinion doesn't mean that we need to take that opinion on. It's helpful to ask people what they see in us as our strengths and areas that they think that maybe potentially, if we're brave, to ask what areas could we be working on. In their opinion, and therefore seeking their opinion out. But in that space, again, recognizing that this is someone else's opinion, and when I ask other people those questions, I'm often looking for their verbiage. I want their vocabulary. And that's what I'm looking for in that space as well. So,
Yeah. Constructive criticism. Okay. Criticism. Sure. I'm sure we could all use it because we all want to improve and get better. But yeah, you have to take consideration of the source, because if someone is saying something totally opposite of what they do all the time or vice versa, it's like, yeah, listen to yourself, listen to your own intuition.
yeah.
Yeah.
Take the time and space to do that. Laura, I'm just so grateful that you've taken time to come and share your wisdom with us. And thank you for being a guest on our show.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And in this space, we just want to say to you, thank you for being here. It has just really been on my heart that as I have been booking in the people for season 7, that each one of them has a really remarkable story about resilience. And so I'm just recognizing that and just in my own mind, seeing that all of season 7 is about resilience. And I'm so glad that you are here working on you, wanting your life to be your best life. And in that space, I just invite you to take good care of you. Until next time.